Hi everyone, I am Didin J, the author of gmware.com. Today, we will show you an example of using Firebase email authentication or login with React Native iOS and Android apps. The environment is very simple, just React Native mobile apps as a client and Firebase email authentication as a server. We will use the latest React hooks and React Native Firebase library to develop this login app. This tutorial divided into several steps. Step number 1. Set up Google Firebase email authentication. Step number 2. Create a new React Native apps. Step number 3. Install and configure React Native Firebase. Step number 4. Add React navigation header and pages. Step number 5. Implementing Firebase email login. Step number 6. Implementing Firebase email register. Step number 7. Implementing Firebase email reset password. Step number 8. Implementing a secure home screen. Step number 9. Run and test React Native Firebase email login app. The scenario for this React Native Firebase email tutorial is very simple. Just a login page or screen, register screen, reset password screen, and home screen as the secure screen for the successful login landing page. The flow described in this diagram. The following tools, frameworks, and libraries are required for this tutorial: Node.js, NPM or Yarn, React Native, Google Firebase, React Native Firebase Library, Android Studio or SDK for Android, Xcode for iOS, Terminal on OS X or Linux, or command lines Windows, text editor or IDE. We are using Visual Studio Code. Before start to the main steps, make sure you have installed Node.js and can run npm or yarn in the terminal or command line. To check the existing or installed Node.js environment, open the terminal or command line, then type this command. One. Set up Google Firebase email authentication. We have to go to the Google Firebase console, https://console firebase google.com. After login using your Gmail account, it will be redirected to the Firebase welcome page. Click the Add Projects button, then enter the project name. We are using my React Native. Click Continue button. Scroll down, disable Google Analytics for this project, then click the Create Projects button. Wait for seconds while Firebase creating your projects. Click Continue button after your new project is ready, and now it will be redirected to the dashboard of the new project. Next, choose Develop Authentication on the left pane. Click on the Sign In method, then click Email Password, click Enable Switch, and leave email link password.sign-in to disable, then click Save button. Now you see the provider of email or password with status enabled. Next, click the gear button in the left pane, then click Project Settings. To set up iOS apps, Scroll down the Settings pane, then click iOS circle button. Fill the iOS bundle with the bundle that you are using in the Xcode application. Then click Register App. Download the config file of Google Service Info playlist. We will use this file in Xcode later. Click Next button. Skip this step and click Next button again. Skip again this step, then click the Next button. Finally, click the Continue to Console button. For Android, scroll to the bottom again and click Add App button. Click the Android icon circle button. Give the package name of Android app we are using Jammer RN email auth. Then click the Register App button. Download the config file of Google Services JSON. We will copy to the Android/app folder later. Click the Next button. Skip the step, then click the Next button again. Finally, click the Continue to Console button. Now the Google Firebase email authentication is ready to use. Step number 2. Create a new React Native apps. We will use React Native CLI to create a new React Native app. To install it, type this command in your app projects folder. Then create a React Native app using this command from this app's project directory. Next, go to the newly created React app folder and run the React Native app to the iOS simulator. When this new terminal window opens, go to the React Native project folder and run the Metrobundler server. If you see this error, don't worry, because the Metrobundler server is running too late. Just click Reload. Now you will see this screen in the iOS simulator. You can close this app in simulator right now to continue this tutorial. Next, we will change the iOS and Android package name or bundle ID to match the Firebase configuration files. For iOS, open the iOS RN email auth XE workspace file using Xcode. Click on the project name and change the bundle identifier to the previously created bundle identifier when created Firebase. And it's ready to use with the Firebase authentication email or password. For Android, it's a little tricky. First, open this project using your IDE or text editor. We are using Visual Studio, So just type this command. Change the source folders which previously mine Java com rn email auth to be Android app src mine Java com jammer rn email auth. Next, open and edit mine activity Java and mine application Java. Then replace its package name or add a bundle identifier like this. Next, open and edit Android app src mine Android manifest XML and change this line to this. Next, open and edit Android app with Gradle, then change the application ID to the new package. Next, open and edit Android app back and change the Android with config and Android resource package name. Finally, run these commands from the Android folder to clean up the Gradle. Step number 3. Install and configure React Native Firebase. To make integration easier, we use the RN Firebase Authentication module https://github.com interface React Native Firebase 3 master packages auth for accessing Firebase authentication from the React Native apps. For that, type this command to install the module. Set up React Native Firebase on iOS. To make this React Native Firebase authentication working on iOS devices, make sure you have Xcode signing development team. Otherwise, you only can run this iOS app on the simulator. First, we have to copy or downloaded Google Service info playlist and Google Services JSON to the root of these projects. Next, open the iOS rn email auth exe workspace from the Xcode. Then add the previously downloaded Google Service info playlist to the Xcode project's name. For iOS, we need to add manually rn auth/app to the iOS pod file. And then run again for the install on the iOS folder with additional repo update. Next, open and edit rn email auth app delegate m. Then add this import of the Firebase. At the beginning of did finish launching with options and as dictionary launch options method, add these lines to initialize Firebase. Set up React Native Firebase on Android. Copy the previously downloaded Google Services JSON to Android app folder. That's it. All configuration was authoring when add React Native Firebase app and React Native Firebase auth. Step number 4. Add React navigation header and pages. Before implementing the Firebase authentication email password login, we need to add pages for login, register, reset password, and home. For that, create a folder for those files first, then create files for login, register, reset password, and home. Open and edit components login ts, then add these lines of React hooks, codes, and disable navigation header. Open and edit components register.js, then add these lines of React hooks, codes, and disable navigation header. Open and edit components home.js, then add these lines of React hooks codes. Open and edit components reset.js, then add these lines of React hooks codes and disable navigation header. Next, we will add the navigation header in the screen layout for REST mobile apps. For that, add the libraries of React Navigation and React Native gesture handler with save these commands. For iOS, go to the iOS folder, then install pods. Next, we will implement stack navigation in the current app.js. Open and edit app.js, then add the imports of React Navigation, create app container, React Native stack, create stack navigator, login, register, reset, and home. Add a constant variable of the imports that initialize create stack navigator. Add the above create stack navigator to the create app container. Replace the current main function and the exports with this export function. Step number 5. Implementing Firebase email login. The login screen will contain email, password input text, login, register, and reset password button. The action of the login button will log in to enter the email and password to the Firebase authentication. Register and reset button will redirect to register and reset screen. We will use additional elements to build the login, register, and reset forms. For that, type this command to install the React Native elements and React native factor icons modules. To make the React Native factor icons working on iOS, open and edit iOS RN auth info page. Then add these lines of UI app fonts before the ends of dict. Next, open and edit components login.js. Then add or replace these imports of the required elements and Firebase auth. Add the required useStateConstant variable at the first line of the login function body. Add a function of Firebase login with email and password after those constant. Modify these fields after the login functions to implementing the login form UI. Finally, add these lines of style after the navigation options. Step number 6. Implementing Firebase email register. The Firebase Authentication email password, register or sign in almost the same with the previous login. The difference, just a Firebase method, this time using create user with email and password. Open and edit components register.js. Then add these imports to the required elements and Firebase auth. Add these useStateConstant variables at the first line of the register function body. Add the asynchronous function to register to the Firebase auth with email and password. Modify the fields that implements the register form using a combination of React Native and React Native elements. Finally, add these codes of styles after the navigation option. Step number 7. Implementing Firebase email reset password. The reset password screen just required one email input text and reset button. Also, a button to navigate back to the previous screen. Open and edit components reset.js. Then add or replace these imports of the required elements and Firebase auth. Add these required useStateConstant variables at the first line of reset function body. Add this function to send an email for a reset password to the Firebase Authentication. Firebase will send the reset link email to the email that sends in these functions. Add this implementation of view for reset password form by modifying the existing return. Finally, add the styles for this reset form after the navigation options. Step number 8. Implementing a secure home screen. The home screen is the initial screen that comes first when this React Native app started. So, there will be a function to check the authenticated user. If it exists, then this screen will display the user email. If not exists, it will be redirected to the login screen. Open and edit components home.js, then add or replace these imports of required elements and Firebase auth. Add this required useState constant variable inside the first line of the home function body. Add the functions that sets the user value if the user authenticated. Add the useEffect functions to check the authenticated user every time the screen loads. Add a condition that returns null user if initialization is true. Add a condition that redirects to the login page if there's no user access or loaded. Modify the view to implementing the user email on this screen. Finally, modify the navigation options to add a logout button that fires the logout method of Firebase auth. Step number 9. Run and test React Native Firebase email login app. This time, to run and test the React Native Firebase email login app in the iOS simulator and Android device. To run this app to the iOS device, you need an Xcode sign-in development team. For iOS, type this command. When the new terminal window is open, type this command immediately. It seems like we are ready to run the method bundle immediately, so the error like this will come. Just refresh or click reload to make this app run again. To run in an Android device, make sure the Android phone connected to the computer and available by this command. Next, run to the Android device by type this command. That's it, the React Native tutorial Firebase email login example. You can get the article and full source code links on the description below. If you think this tutorial is useful, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Thank you.